we just cook up?
Sit your ass down.
Do it again.
I like you, and I want you.
Double kill.
Hi, doggy. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is Chapter 9, the infamous and potentially hardest chapter of the Dead Space remake. Now, thankfully, this chapter is very short, but there are no benches, there are no stores, it is just you and the horse that you rode in on. This chapter really does have it all. It introduces us to a brand new enemy type that is very fast, is resistant to stasis, and is very resilient to all of your weapons. There's an insta-kill room that can end your impossible mode run with one stray shot. There is a troll Easter egg, there is a huge lockdown, and a frantic escape section at the end. There really is not room to breathe in this chapter whatsoever, but we're going to cover it piece by piece and get out of here totally unscathed.
I don't need you to be. Just stabilize the warhead and eject it away from the Ishimura.
Christ damn it.
No one trained you to carve up monsters with a plasma cutter either. You haven't let us down yet.
Our introduction to the new twitching enemy happens in this briefing room hallway. What I recommend is to use a charged contact beam shot and aim for center mass. That is not only going to do very significant damage to the Twitcher enemy, but also trigger its stasis pack, which will slow it down and make it for easy pickings with the plasma cutter. Every so often, the Twitcher will not spawn in this hallway, instead it will be totally free. However, more often than not, I do find that the Twitcher spawns here, and this will be our first encounter with them. This room is a testament to how resilient these enemies are. I'm simply going to let this clip play, but these guys can take charged contact beam shots without flinching, and they take a ton of plasma cutter energy to take down. One thing to note is it is pretty consistent to outright skip these enemies. You can grab the battery out of this briefing room, place it by the elevator, and then when you attempt to use the elevator and it spits the bad battery out, you'll have the good one right next to you and you can slot it in and use the elevator and escape. However, you do miss out on an audio log, a text log, and a power node that is within that briefing room. Whether or not you feel like you need the node at this point in the game is totally up to you. Honestly, I would recommend just saving your ammo and getting the hell out of the Valor as soon as you can.
Mr. Clark? Hello? I must speak with you.
Who is this?
Dr. Terrence Kine, the Ishimura's chief science officer. I studied the marker for the church.
I'm done talking to unitologists.
But the planet won't rest until the marker is returned. You can't leave.
Watch me.
Caution. Radiation hazard.
This infamous room can end your run. Multiple exploders are going to spawn here, and if you do any sort of explosive damage to them or detonate their arm charge, then the nuke will explode and you will instantly die. It's pretty hilarious. It reminds me of Hitman Absolution, the Easter egg where if you shoot the nuke in one of the areas, then you'll see Kane and Lynch admiring the fireworks and you'll have to reset to the last checkpoint. That is not the case on Impossible mode. You will have to reset back to hard mode or go all the way back to the beginning of the game a whole 10 chapters ago. Thankfully for us, there are some kinesis poles on the ground that you can use to insta-kill the exploders. then you can shoot or bash the circuits and get rid of the nuke and get out of this room as quickly as you entered it. It is pretty simple once you know that you can use those kinesis poles. I imagine for a lot of folks, trying to shoot the arms off of those exploders was a very tense situation. In the future though, if you ever come back on Impossible and pay a visit to the USM Valor, just use those poles. It makes it easy.
Okay, the warhead's clear.
Hammond, this doesn't add up. If the Valor was just on patrol, why bring a nuke? And if they had a target, what's out here except us?
Yeah, I know. I'm downloading a munitions report right now. I'll clear your route to the engine room. Grab that singularity core and let's get out of here.
Moving right along into the armory and the shooting range, you are going to encounter a divider. I recommend that you carry one of the exploder's explosive arms with you, as you can immediately separate the divider and then switch over to the force gun for an easy cleanup. Once you make a move either towards the shooting range or closer to the actual exit of this area, you will encounter 2 twitchers. Now there are a handful of explosives all around this area that you can use to your advantage and take them down pretty quickly. If you're able to shred them down, although they are very dense, once you get that bone exposed, it's still easy to cripple them and take them out. Now as for the shooting range, typically I would recommend that you go through this section, as you can survive the ambush very consistently and you get some decent rewards for it. However, since we are on Impossible mode and this is the hardest chapter in the game, I choose to err on the side of caution and just scavenge the shooting range for all of the ammo that I can sell before heading on my merry way and avoiding any unnecessary confrontation. As you head into the infirmary, once again, we are dealing with an insta-kill situation here. A Twitcher is going to spawn and show you that you will get absolutely severed by these lasers if you are not careful. Use some stasis on the lasers and then slip on by. Now there will be another Twitcher that spawns, however I'm very lucky as Dingus and his brother Doofus both run into the lasers and off themselves without me having to expend a single bullet. Now, if Dingus or Doofus chooses to survive the lasers or avoid them altogether, whip out the force gun and send them right into them, or a couple of shots later, they'll be totally severed and you'll be good to go.
Isaac, you hearing this? It's Chen. There, on the rig link. Did I lock him in alive?
Chen's dead. You know that.
I know my own fucking corporal. Chen, come in.
There's some free loot in this locker room if you clear away these little bag things and avoid the electrical hazard on the ground. It's a nice restock point before we head into the cargo bay, which is going to be the big quarantine section of this level. The cargo bay is the biggest and scariest encounter in this level. What's nice though is that the fight does not trigger until you reach the middle of the room. So there's a couple of stasis packs that you can grab and move them closer to you for if you get into a sticky situation. And then once the fight triggers, I suggest backpedaling close to the entrance and taking on everything as they move towards you versus you trying to breach and clear through the room and take everything out yourself. You will have to encounter a pregnant, 2 lurkers, 2 exploders, 2 twitchers, and a brute, or at least that was my experience. What I would recommend is do not be afraid to whip out the contact beam, especially for the twitchers. If you can get a direct impact shot with a charged contact beam, you will trigger their stasis pack and then they will be easy pickings for either the force gun once they get closer or the plasma cutter for a distance. The pregnants and the lurkers are pretty easy, and this is our introduction to the enhanced brutes, which is the stronger variant of the brutes that we have been fighting throughout the game. However, they are still just as simple as the normal brutes. A hit of stasis and then strafing around them and hitting the legs makes them a easy peasy cakewalk type encounter. Now, what makes this the most stressful is if you're unable to take out the enemies quickly and efficiently, you can get overwhelmed very fast and the twitchers do a ton of damage. A couple of things to note as I review this footage is that as you use the stasis pods that are around the area, if you throw that at an enemy, it will actually apply the effects of your suit's stasis beam. So it will lock enemies in place and zap them and peel them down, like you can see happen to the brute in the cargo bay fight. Another thing is a really nice combo that you could do on the twitcher enemies. A charged contact beam shot and then 1 shot of the force gun is enough to totally remove the threat. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. Combos are really nice in Dead Space, as you don't have to be totally reliant on the plasma cutter unless you choose to do so.
The Valor's munition logs. It wasn't just a nuke. They came loaded for war, seek and destroy. This was no patrol. They knew about the Ishimura. Someone knew. We were all dead from the moment we arrived.
The engine room is pretty simple, all things considered. All you have to do is tiptoe your way around the fire pillars and avoid getting burned to a crisp. Once you make your way all the way around the fire pillars and turn on the fire suppression system and the elevators, multiple leapers will spawn in a staggered fashion around you. Now, most of the time you will get about 5 lurker spawns, however 2 of them will be burnt to a crisp. So in reality you only really have to deal with 3, and you get free drops from the ones that get caught in the middle flamethrower that is inconsistently firing in the middle of this area.
Outbound biohazard detected. Lockdown initiated.
Another malfunction. Half the Ishimura's in the red. Someone get the door open. Huh. Shin? Christ, what did that thing do to you? Help me get him to the Kelly.
Shoot him. It's not shit. Shoot him!
What?
Shoot him!
Jen? No.
Helmet!
You're what killed him.
Oh God. No!
Quarantine lockdown disengaged. Singularity core removed. Rerouting power.
What? Him and Vitals, they just flatlined.
Hammond's gone. Hammond shit.
Oh my God.
Warning. Cascade failure in all primary systems.
Fuck! The Valor's gonna blow!
Once you grab the Singularity Core, it's chapter complete. You can take a leisurely stroll back through the Valor and escape the same way that you came in. Nah, just kidding, it's gonna blow up. You've got to run for your life. What I suggest is you keep the Force Gun out. The only time that you'll encounter any enemies here is in the mess hall. What I suggest when you get into the mess hall is run to the left and then bead a straight line towards the door. Turn to your right or right behind you, depending on where you hear the Twitcher coming from, and just nail him with the Force Gun, which is going to knock him on his butt and buy you the time that you need to escape from the Valor altogether. Once you get through the barracks, just make sure that you do not get caught on the final electrical panel, and once you reach the airlock, you are home free and the chapter is fully complete. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, make us whole, like, and comment down below.
Incoming debris. Sealing blast door. Isaac, come in.
Here. Fuck, that was close.
Chen, Johnston, now Hammond. And I'm tracking movement from the Valor. I think some of those mutated soldiers made it on board. What about the Valor's Singularity Core?
It's covered in blood, but I got it. God. I hope Hammond was right about that shuttle.
He said it was on the crew deck, along with every unitologist on the ship and their marker. You need to... Wait, someone's opened the door near the bridge atrium? It'll get you to the crew deck, but who's left with that kind of clearance? Isaac, something's up, but we have to get that shuttle. For God's sake, be careful. We're all that's left. Exiting zero gravity.